Last year, over 200,000 people, let me repeat that, 200,000 people failed their life insurance exam. And here's the crazy thing. They failed their life insurance exam for the same reasons. Now, in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 12 common mistakes that people make that cause them to fail their life insurance exam. And these are smart people just like you. But stick with me for reason number 11, because here's the crazy thing. Most people don't talk about it, but it's the hidden reason why a lot of people fail the life insurance exam. Okay, so mistake number one, and I see this all the time, is students wait too long to schedule and take their exam. I'll give you one example. One of my recent students, I was behind her, schedule your exam, go and take your exam. She's like, oh, I'm going to schedule it when I'm ready, when I feel like I can pass the exam. It was one thing after another, one thing after another. Cut long story short, it took her 6 months to finally take the exam. And guess what? By the 6 months time, she had already forgotten almost everything she learned. This is why you need to schedule your exam as soon as possible, because procrastination kills momentum. Every single time, the procrastination will kill your momentum. So what I recommend you do is schedule your exam before you even start studying. Schedule your exam at least 7 days to no more than 21 days in advance. If you do it 7 days, less than 7 days or sooner than 7 days, you probably will not have enough time, right? Because most people are working full-time. They have kids and family and other things to take care of, right? So 7 days kind of gives you some time, but no longer than 21 days. So schedule your exam before you even start studying. I want you to schedule your exam. Now, there are 24 states that allow you to schedule your exam without having to complete a pre-licensing course. Those 24 states I have in the description. Check the list in the description. So if your state is one of those, then there is no need to wait. Schedule your exam before you start studying, because there's a psychology behind this. There's a saying that where your treasure is, that is where your heart is, right? So if you pay your hard-earned money, whether it's $75 or $100 to register for an exam, best believe that you will make sure you study and you'll make sure you show up to take that exam, because of course, no one wants their money to go to waste, right? So that is the other reason you want to schedule your exam in advance, because it helps to kill procrastination, right? So you don't want to do more than 21 days, because if you schedule your exam more than 21 days in the future, then life could come up. There are so many things you don't have control over, right? You could get sick, something could happen to your kids. There are so many things. So I found out from helping students over all these years is the sweet spot is between 7 to 21 days. Schedule your exam before you start studying. But I had 2 students. One, we call her Mary. She was always very busy. She didn't want to set a specific time to study. Every time I'll get to Mary, like, hey, when are you going to study? When are you going to do your assignment? When are you going to finish chapter 1? She's like, oh, I'm a bit busy. I'm going to do it when I have free time. And every time it was the same excuse. I'll call her another day. She said, oh, my daughter's sick. Oh, I had a family emergency. I had to travel. This and that. Now, on the other hand, let's call this other student John. John, before he could even start studying, set a fixed schedule. So John worked Monday to Friday from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. So he said, you know what? I'm going to wake up early every single morning. I'm going to study from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Right? Every single day, Monday to Friday, I'll study 3 hours every day, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. before heading to work. Right? And then on the weekends, on Saturdays, I'm going to study 10 hours, and Sunday would be my day off to spend with family and and to take care of some other house chores. So John did that, right? So guess between those 2 students, Mary and John, do you want to guess which one of them passed the exam first? Of course, it was John. Why? John was able to study for his exam in 2 weeks, and he passed. Mary, on the other hand, it took her 6 months, well, to be exact, 6.5 months, right? And when that 6.5 months came, she barely passed her exam. So here's the truth. Without a fixed study schedule, life comes in the way. Because if you wait until you're free to study or until you feel like you have time to study, you will never study, because there'll always be something, whether it's Netflix or it's family or social life. There will always be something. That's why you have to treat studying like the same way you treat your job, right? You have a fixed time to work. You know what? Monday to Friday, you go to work from 9 to 5. So you know what? I have to take care of everything I have to take care of because I have to be out of this house by 8 o'clock or by 8:30 to be to work, right? So treat your study like the same way you treat your work. You have a fixed time to work. No matter what, you show up to work, right? So the same thing for your exam, block out a specific time. Even if it's 1 hour a day, that is okay. The key there is consistency. So if you study regularly, right, you have a specific time to study, you're more likely to stick to your schedule and pass your exam in time than dragging it out. Sometimes, trust me, I've seen this too many times. One student, it took her 1 year to pass a life insurance exam. 1 year. Think about that. Because it was always something else and she never listened to me, right? So don't be like that student. Set a specific study schedule, even if it's 1 hour a day or even 30 minutes a day. If that's all you have, that's fine. But set a specific schedule and stick to that schedule. So I would like to hear from you. What is your preferred study schedule? Do you prefer to do a little bit every day, like maybe 1 hour every day or 2 hours every day consistently? Or do you prefer to do long hours over fewer days? Like maybe some of my students, they say, you know what, I don't have time during the weekday to study. So maybe on Saturdays and Sundays, they spend maybe 8 hours each day studying, or 5 hours on Sunday, 5 hours on Saturday studying. So which method do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. But even with a schedule, many students will still fail their life insurance exam because they don't know that the state has already given them their exam blueprint. That is mistake number 3. One of my students failed her exam 3 times. Let me repeat. She failed her exam 3 times. And she finally, out of frustration, she came to me. Because the fact of the matter is, I get a lot of people who fail their exam multiple times. I just had someone contact me on TikTok a few days ago asking if I could help him because he had failed his exam 7 times. Think about that, failing your exam 7 times, right? So she failed her exam 3 times, and I was curious because she's a very smart lady. So I was telling about how come, So I asked her a simple question. I said, did you download your state exam outline and did you study from your state exam outline? Her answer was no. Cut long story short, I went ahead and we downloaded the Georgia state exam outline for her, and we're able to study according to that exam outline. And guess what? She passed her exam on the 4th try with flying colors. So here's the thing most students don't know. Your state has already given you the blueprint. They have already given you the cheat sheet. Every single thing that will be on your exam, the state has already told you, right? So every state has their exam outline. It's very simple. Just go to Google and just type in the name of your state. Like, for example, Georgia, type in Georgia life insurance exam outline. If you're in New York, type in New York life insurance exam outline. New Jersey life insurance exam outline. And it will come up. It's a PDF. You download it, and it's going to tell you all the topics that will be on your exam. It's going to tell you how many questions will come from each topic on your exam. So they've already given you the game, right? They've already given the game away. So, but here's an interesting thing. I found out that only 5% of students download their state exam outline or even know that there's an exam outline that exists. And because of that, they pay very dearly. That is why 200,000 people failed their life insurance exam last year. All right, I want you to be honest with me. Come on, be honest with me. Have you downloaded your state exam outline? If yes, let me know in the comments. If no, let me know in the comments. But even if you study all the topics on your exam outline, you could still fail if you study the wrong way. That is mistake number 4. One of my students, she read her life insurance pre-licensing textbook 3 different times, cover to cover, from page 1 to the last page. She went and took her exam, and she still failed. The reason she failed is because she was studying passively. Let me tell you the difference. There's a difference between active studying and passive studying. Let's talk about passive. Passive studying is you just reading and highlighting, right? That's what most students do. Just read and highlight, just read and highlight. You could read something 10 times, it won't stick as well as if you do active learning. So active learning is where, as you read something, you test yourself and force yourself to recall what you just learned. So yes, you're going to fail 1, 2, 3 times, but every time you fail, there's a psychology behind this, right? And it's a science. It's actually a science behind it. Every time you fail, your brain forms neurons. Your brain connects neurons together that will remember that, right? Because every time you fail something, it's a mild traumatic event for your brain. It will know that human beings remember things that are considered trauma or negative experience a lot longer and a lot more frequently than regular experiences, right? So you'll be tricking your brain to remember. So every time you fail, it's like a mild discomfort for your brain. But because it's a discomfort for your brain is wired. Those little wires in your tiny microscopic wires in your brain, they're called neurons and synapses. They click. Every time you get a question wrong, those neurons click and they form a connection. They click and form a connection. So that you do that 2, 3, 4 times, you'll remember that topic, you'll remember that scenario a lot longer, right? And like on average, if you're passively learning, you'll forget at least 40% of what you learn passively within 1 week. Whereas for active learning, guess what? Within 1 week, you just forget about 5 to 7%. Now, let me give you some example. Here at Minzo Pass, we have a unique strategy, and our strategy is based on science. That is called the T80S20 strategy. What that means is you spend 80% of your study time doing practice questions, and you spend 20% of your time learning core concepts. So yes, you can read and study, but that's only 20% of your time. 80% of your time should be spent doing practice questions. Do as many practice questions as possible. And we recommend 1,500 practice questions. If you do 1,500 practice questions and you know the core exam concepts, there is no way you're going to fail your exam, right? That is active learning, because yes, you'll get those questions wrong, but you are forcing your brain to recall what you learned. If you learn one topic, you go and do a set of practice questions, not just 5 or 10 questions. You do a bunch of questions. For example, one of my clients, she just enrolled in our membership program right now, and we just finished annuity, right? So now she has 200 questions, practice questions, just on annuity alone. And then she'll come back and read that material. Tell me that she won't get almost every single question right on annuity. She will, right? That is active learning. Instead of just reading a book, you read a book. You can even read a book 10 times, but if you don't actively test yourself, not just 1 or 2 questions, but actively test yourself. And every time you fail, you go back and read why you fail, right? And you do that with a lot of questions. You will pass your exam. It's as simple as. So I want you to let me know, do you catch yourself just highlighting a lot? Let me know in the comments. Even if you're actively studying, there's a magic number of study questions or practice questions you have to complete, and that is mistake number 5. So one of my students told me point blank that he didn't need more practice questions. He said, you know what, I've already done 150 practice questions and I did very well with those 150 practice questions. I scored 80%, so it's okay. I think I'm ready. I can take the test. Guess what? He took the test and he failed. Not once, but twice. Another student listened to me and she did 1,500 practice questions and she passed the exam on her first try. So the advantage of doing many practice questions is that it will expose you to every trick that the exam writers use. Now, by 1,500 practice questions, you have seen every single variation on that topic that the test writers could possibly test. And the good news is nothing will surprise you. So my advice to you is don't stop until you hit that magic number of 1,500 practice questions. I want to hear from you. How many practice questions have you done so far? Let me know your numbers in the comments. But even if you do 1,500 practice questions, going alone makes it much harder. That is mistake number 6. So I've seen many students give up halfway without someone to check in on them daily. You need an accountability partner, because let's face it, this is something new. You're doing insurance, you've never done it. It's difficult, and you have a lot of other things going on, right? Life, work, family, all those things. That's why I recommend get an accountability partner. Now, when you're part of our online membership, you have your fellow students will serve as your accountability partner, and I will serve as your accountability partner, right? So you get regular assignments, you get regular updates and feedback. You get regular checkups, whether it's daily or 2-3 times a week, to ensure that you're on course to complete your study and take your exam on time. You can also have your fellow online community members as part of your accountability team. So you could pick 1 or 2 people, and you guys could even you could be study buddies, right? And you could study together, and you can check in on each other, give each other encouragement. Because let's face it, sometimes you're studying by yourself, it gets boring and it gets lonely, right? So you need someone there to encourage you. Now, if you're not part of our online community, that is fine. You don't have to be, but you can get someone to be your accountability partner. Maybe your spouse, or maybe your parent, or your child, or your best friend, right? They can serve as accountability partner. Just someone to hold you accountable, someone to check in on you, like, hey, Mary, you said you are going to study from 6 a.m. To 8 a.m. It is 7 a.m. and I don't see you studying. What's going on? Someone to hold you accountable. That is why people do very well when they have coaches, right? Because your coach will hold you accountable, and when you feel like giving up, that person will be there to push you along. So I highly recommend get an accountability partner. So will you rather study with a partner or study alone? So comment partner or solo in the comments. But even motivated students can set themselves up to fail if they don't study in the right environment. That is mistake number 7. On average, students who study in a quiet environment usually pass their exam than students who study in a very noisy environment, right? Because when you study in a quiet environment, it allows your brain to concentrate. It allows you to focus. So I usually recommend that students study in maybe a library, maybe in their house, during quiet times, either early in the morning or late at night. But just pick a time, pick a location that is quiet, where you can focus and not have any distraction. I also recommend that while you're studying, you can play Baroque classical music. You can put your headsets on, or if you want to leave your speakers on, not too loud, but Baroque classical music, it has been proven that it helps you with your concentration when you're trying to study, and it helps you to retain what you study. So Baroque classical music, you can find that on YouTube. Where do you usually study? Do you study in a coffee shop, a library, your home? I want to know. Let me know in the comments. But even if you study in the right environment, some students ignore the most important tool for passing their life insurance exam, and that is mistake number 8. So I've worked with many students who knew the exam inside out, and they were very confident that they will pass. But on exam day, guess what? They panicked, right? They ran out of time, and those students failed. Simulated exams will simulate, or they'll mimic they'll mimic exam-like conditions, and one of those conditions is your exam will be timed. Your exam will be weighted, so that means the difficult questions will be worth more and the easier questions will be worth less, so it's going to simulate actual exam like conditions. So if you want to pass your exam, simulated exams are non-negotiable. Now here at Minzo Pass, what we recommend is for you to pass your simulated exams, 3 simulated exams with at least a score of 90%. So if you can score 90% on 3 simulated exams, you may be ready to take your exam. So I'd like to hear from you. Have you completed 3 simulated exams? Comment yes or no. So mistake number 9 is waiting too long to take your exam. I've seen students who study, they were well prepared to take the exam, but they waited too long. Some of them waited 1-2 months before they could take the exam. And guess what? When they went to take the exam, they failed. So you want to take your exam within 72 hours. And the reason you want to take your exam within 72 hours, because you're going to forget. This is a new concept. So if you wait too long, then you're going to end up forgetting most of what you learned. So that is why you want to take your exam within 72 hours, because that means everything is still fresh in your brain, right? So within 72 hours. Sooner it's even better. If you can take your exam the next day or within 48 hours, that's even better. But don't wait within 72 hours, go and take your exam. So how soon are you looking to take your exam after you complete all your simulated exams? Comment the number of days. Not getting enough sleep the night before your exam is mistake number 10. So I've had students who stayed up all night studying. Some of them only got 2 hours of sleep. Some of them didn't even get any sleep at all. They went and took their exam and their brain froze and they failed their exam. So your brain is like a computer. Without enough rest, it's going to slow down and you won't be able to recall information, right? And you're going to experience brain freeze. That even happened to me personally many times when I was in college, right? I'll pull an all-nighter and during exam time, my brain would just freeze. That is why here at Minzo Pass, we recommend get at least 7 hours of sleep. If you can get more, 8-9 hours, even better, but get at least 7 hours of sleep the night before your exam so that you'll be very well rested and you'll be sharp mentally. How many hours of sleep do you usually get the night before exams? Comment below. But even if you get enough sleep, pacing yourself during the exam is very critical, and that's mistake number 11. Mistake number 11 is bad time management. One student spent 10 minutes on one question, and guess what? By the time she got to the end of the exam, she ran out of time. She didn't answer 20 questions on the exam, and surprise, she failed. On your life insurance exam, on average, you're going to have about 1 minute, 20 seconds to answer each question. The goal here is to not spend more than 1 minute on a single question. If by the 1 minute mark you don't know that question, guess and move on. So you can always come back to that question if you have time left over. The way your exam works is usually when the exam starts, it starts off with easy questions, and then as you progress, the questions get harder and harder, and then midway through the exam, then it's going to start to get easier again, right? And towards the end of the exam, you're going to get the easy questions. The mistake a lot of students make is somewhere around the middle of the exam, that's when you get the most difficult questions, and they get hung up trying to answer those questions. Some of them spend up to 10 minutes on one question. As you approach the end of the exam, then the easy questions start to show up, and those are questions you could easily get right, but now you spend so much time on the difficult questions that you will get wrong anyway, you end up running out of time. So are you someone who gets hung up on difficult questions during your exams? Let me know in the comment. And finally, this is the biggest exam killer of them all. Mistake number 12. And mistake number 12 is changing your exam answers. Man, I've seen this one many times. Students will get the right answer. Their first answer choice will be correct. And then towards the end of the exam, when they're reviewing the exam, then they go back and change those answers. Most of the time, your first answer is the most correct answer. Unless you're 100% sure that that question is wrong, stick with your original answer. Stick with your gut feeling, because most of the time, your first answer is always correct. So I want you to be honest. Do you usually change your answers on your exam? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. Congratulations. Now you know the 12 reasons 200,000 people failed last year. The good news is if you avoid those mistakes, you will pass your insurance exam. But remember, passing your exam is just one step, because I tell people all the time, the majority of life insurance agents, of new life insurance agents, will fail in their first year. So if you want to get help with passing your life insurance exam, we can help you with that. But not just passing your life insurance exam. If you want to succeed in the insurance industry, we can also help you with that. So if you're serious about passing your exam and launching a very successful career in the insurance industry, then I invite you to join our online community of everyday people just like you, young, old, black, white, does not matter, people from almost every single state, just like you, who want to start something new. So we have textbooks, we have our online community, we have so many things to help you pass your exam, and not just pass your exam, but succeed in the insurance industry. So if you want to pass your exam, not just pass, but you want to launch a successful career in the insurance industry, then I urge you to join our online community, or you can take one of our online courses. We have the links to everything, the links to our textbooks, links to our online courses, links to join our online community, everything in the description. If this video has helped you, then subscribe so that the next time we have another great video out, you're not going to miss it. Until next time, thank you very much for watching.